Hello, I'm the author of this book. Sorry about the mess. The first and the original inventor. That wasn't necessarily the title when I had the book published. It was the entire thing. Human-powered transportation needs for the 21st century. Here's my helicopter, here's my dragster, here's me, and this is volume 1. And it is an evolutionary step above mechanical engineering technology, which you can get an associate's degree in at local technical schools or the university. In this case, the University of Louisville has mechanical engineering technology associate's degree 2-year course, which I have an associate's degree in mechanical engineering technology. Anyway, I have done these 2 volumes, which are reasonably thick, as you can see, and there's a 3rd volume that I haven't published because I have not gotten anything for the first 2 volumes from anybody. So I don't have any money to publish the 3rd volume. Anyway, it has lots of formulas in here, equations, things I've figured out since I figured it all out. Since 1988, I've spent all my time figuring out how to design the human-powered helicopter and the dragster and aircraft and spacecraft, rocket engines, somewhat into vessels. Vessels are the more complicated. The sailboat is actually the most complicated type of craft to design because it has to operate in 2 mediums, air and water, simultaneously. Anyway, here's some model plane plans for gliders, the model gliders that I used to sell on my website that went out of business from lack of interest from anyone buying this stuff. Here's research pages. I use TurboCAD and I use Geomagic standard version, and this is all off TurboCAD pages that I wrote, drawings and things. This is some kind of computer programming that I thought might happen, since what I have discovered in most respects pretty much renders arithmetic useless when it comes to figuring out the central nervous system of the human being. And you would probably eventually understand that if this book belonged to you and you studied it. Here's a blade vane cross-section for like a helicopter or airplane propeller. Here's some planetary motion observations that Kepler didn't figure out. But I do use Kepler's equal time rationale, and I use simultaneous, and I use present time, which is no elapsed time, and everything is continually alive, as it were. So what I figure a brain does is happens under no elapsed time, and uses biochemical and bioelectric input to change the variables on a continuous basis, where there is no cycling. It just is spontaneous and continuously, and the individual parts of the brain are soma clusters that have variable values that change with the input continuously and produce a solution like sight, hearing, balance, heat, pain, touching, all the senses. And the frontal cortex is capable of this inputting this sort of stuff in order to be able to, shall we say, think, as it were. Here's some orbital mechanics for a more dense and a less dense body, traveling at the same velocity, starting off at the same altitude. The more dense body has a more eccentric orbit than the less dense body, because gravity affects density equally on equal volumes with different density. And so a lighter body will tend to have a tighter orbit than a more, I shouldn't say lighter, a less dense body should have a tighter orbit than a more dense body. Anyway, here's a prospect for where the movie 2001 with the Pan Am Space Clipper would be a possible business operation. Go out and orbit the moon and return in this fashion in order to be able to get practice before going to Mars. This would shorten the return trip by 90 degrees of the Earth's orbit around the Sun, I would think, since you can come back from Mars, coming on this trajectory, and the Earth will come up this way, and you have to accelerate into it and then apply the orbital stuff. Here's there's orbital, all kinds of orbital stuff in here. This here is well, I need a computer program to complete this actually, but it's an attempt to use this arithmetic here in order to fly by the seat of your pants from wherever it is you start to wherever it is you're going. And these are all the necessary variables. There's no values in there, they're all variables. Here's a sound barrier equation that's fairly simple and is dependent on the aircraft displacement, the air density, the impact reaction force of the aircraft at velocity. Notice that I use velocity, impact reaction force. I don't use speed, momentum, and stuff like that in this book, because those are variables that require elapsed time. And in this entire book, all the calculations that apply to the formula for fluid mechanics of inertia have no elapsed time, although everything is continually alive and moving all the time. Here's a wing prospect. Here's what actually is the calculation for the center of a trapezoid, and you can use this to do wing rib areas at either end and calculate the volume of the wing.